Welcome to Cultural Lens, the podcast where we challenge cultural misconceptions and explore traditions from around the world. Today, we're diving into some of the most common misconceptions about Taiwan ideas that often shape how people view this island nation.
Hello, I'm Susan, a cultural researcher from Taiwan. Having grown up there and studied its history and traditions, I've encountered many of these misconceptions firsthand. Today, I'll help clarify some of the most widespread myths and provide a more nuanced perspective on Taiwan's culture.
Through this discussion, we aim to provide accurate insights into Taiwan's traditions, everyday life, and cultural identity. Let's begin. One common beef I've heard is that everyone in Taiwan is incredibly friendly to Westerners, especially white foreigners. Is that true?
Taiwanese people are generally warm and hospitable, but this isn't exclusive to foreigners. Hospitality is deeply ingrained in our culture due to Confucian values, which emphasize respect and kindness. However, there is also a growing awareness of the complexities of globalization, and not every interaction is shaped by an idealized friendliness toward Westerners.
That makes sense. Another stereotype I've come across is about Taiwanese cuisine. People often assume it's all about bubble tea and stinky tofu. How accurate is that?
Bubble tea and stinky tofu are definitely well known, but Taiwan's culinary scene is incredibly diverse. For example, Taiwan has a rich history of indigenous cuisine that predates Chinese influences, featuring ingredients like millet, mountain vegetables, and freshwater fish. There's also a strong Japanese influence from the colonial period, which you can see in dishes like bento boxes and ramen variations unique to Taiwan. So while bubble tea is a global hit, our food culture extends far beyond it.
That's fascinating. I didn't realize how many influences shape Taiwanese cuisine. We had a listener ask, is it true that Taiwan is just a smaller version of China?
This is a very common misconception. While Taiwan shares some historical and linguistic ties with China, it has developed its own distinct identity over centuries. Indigenous Taiwanese cultures existed long before Chinese migration, and Taiwan has been shaped by Dutch, Spanish, Japanese, and Chinese influences. Politically, socially, and culturally, Taiwan has forged its own path, with democratic governance and a thriving civil society that differs significantly from China's system.
That's an important distinction. Taiwan isn't just an extension of China, but a place with its own evolving identity. Another listener asked, do people in Taiwan still use traditional Chinese characters? And if so, why?
Taiwan continues to use traditional Chinese characters. Unlike mainland China, which adopted simplified characters in the 1950s. Traditional characters have deep historical and aesthetic value, and many Taiwanese feel they better preserve the meaning and artistry of the language. The decision to keep them is also tied to Taiwan's cultural identity, emphasizing continuity with classical Chinese literature while distinguishing itself from simplified script policies in mainland China.
How can individuals avoid perpetuating these misconceptions when learning about Taiwan?
First, I'd recommend engaging directly with Taiwanese voiceover through literature, documentaries, or conversations with locals. Understanding Taiwan requires looking beyond mainstream media, which often oversimplifies its identity. Second, recognize that Taiwan is diverse. Regional differences within Taiwan shape traditions, dialects, and even food preferences. Finally, being open to learning and questioning assumptions is key. Just because a stereotype is widespread doesn't mean it reflects reality.
That's great advice. I think many of us can apply that approach when learning about any culture. Today we explored how misconceptions about Taiwan arise and discussed ways to approach cultural understanding with greater accuracy and respect. We encourage you to reflect on your own perceptions of Taiwan and share your thoughts or questions in the comments. In our next episode, we'll examine the cultural nuances of Japan. Join us then.